Hello guys, let's start. So before we start our session, I just welcome you all to this interview question series. We are in the SQL set and we already covered the 4 set regarding the SQL interview questions, and we are in the set 5. So in the 4 set we see some of the basic level stuff, then some of the query related stuff, some of the administrative level stuff, and we will continue that trend in this session as well. So let's get started. So today's first question is, how do I count the number of records in MySQL query? Okay, this is general questions we have, but there are two conditions depending on some where conditions, some filtering the things, and just general stuff if you want to count the total number of records in any table. Okay, so we'll see that. So I just head back to my notepad here. So I'll take the first condition, without where. Okay, without where. So count the total number of records. So I'll just write the select from, then whatever table name you have, so table name, and you just give the one of the built-in function which is count. So what count basically does, it counts the total number of records only. Okay, and I mention any column name here. Okay, we can mention any column name here, or you can just take the star, which is a wildcard operator specifically meant for all the columns. Okay, so and I just gave the alias here, which is a different name called total records. So in that way you can just calculate the total number of records without where. And with respect to any where clause, so how does this work? So with where, okay, let's suppose you have a condition, you want the total number of records where country is equal to India, where country is equal to USA, where country is equal to China. With respect to that, you want to find the total number of record in the table. So for that we will use the where clause. Where clause is used to filter out the records. So how can I write this query? So I'll just take the select clause, right? Then from table name, so whatever the table name you have, you just specify that table name, and then where clause. Okay, and in the where clause you specify the condition here. So what is condition? Let's suppose country is equals to India, and in the select you'll just again give the count function, which basically meant the counting of records as total records. Okay, so these are the two ways you basically count the total number of record, without where condition and with where condition. Clear guys? So let's move forward with the other question we have. The second question is, what is heap table in MySQL? Okay, what is heap table? So heap table are in the memory. Okay, no text or blob field are allowed inside the heap tables. They are typically used for high speed transient storage. So basically heap storage, where you can store your temporary data. Okay, and in that temporary data you just need to store your table only. Okay, no text, no blob storage are allowed. What is meant by blob? So binary large object, which is specifically meant for the image type of a data. Clear? So the heap tables are the tables which is stored in the heap memory. Clear guys? And typically it is used for transient storage, means what? This which is used for the storage for the session scope. If suppose I just close down the MySQL workbench, then it will be gone. So that stuff we can use for the heap table in MySQL. Let's move towards the other question we have. What is a temporary table in MySQL? Okay, so in MySQL, a temporary table is a distinct type of a table that approves you to save a transient end result set. Okay, and in which you can reuse countless instances in a single session. A brief table is created with the aid of the use of create temporary table. Okay, so temporary tables are nothing but tables which stores the data in the temporary way. Okay, and which improves the significant operations with respect to view the data, store the data, and the session time for this temporary table is one session only. If you close down this session, then the temporary table will be truncated. Okay, so these are the temporary tables in MySQL. Next, how to upload a large file through a phpMyAdmin in MySQL. Okay, it's a administrative level things. So you can do this by using the upload large CSV through the load data command. Okay, so we have a load data command here. So load data local in file, then you have to specify the file name here. Okay, and then into clause table, then whatever the table you want to specify the record for, then fields terminated by space or column, whatever the delimiter you want, and line terminated by /n. So what this mean? So whatever the columns are there which is specified by commas, and whatever the rows are there were specified by new line character /n. So you have to give that query, and then just you load the data from phpMyAdmin to the MySQL database. Okay, so next question we have, what is the degree of a table in MySQL? Okay, the degree of the table is the number of columns in the given table. Okay, it's also called as arity. Okay, it is it is a range of entity inside each entity type that can be linked via a given relationship type. Okay, so let's understand this. First of all, if you have a table which contains a 10 column, then what is the degree of table? 10. The table which has a degree of 10. Okay, it is a range entity. Entity means what? Entity means tables inside the database, which is an object also. Okay, so this is the degree of a table in MySQL. Next question, what is the difference between timestamp and datetime in MySQL? Okay, first of all, timestamp and datetimes are data related functions. Getting it or not, guys? So these are date related functions we have. Timestamps in the MySQL is used when user want to convert the value from the current time zone to universal time zone for the sake of storage, or UTC time zone to the current time zone for the retrieval. Okay, so the timestamp and date times are the two functions specifically used for conversion of local times into the standardized UTC times. Clear? And a date time in MySQL is the used for insert the value in this type of format, which is a year, month and date in the table, where year is year, is month and dd is date. This keyword is used to retrieve to display date time values in MySQL. So this is basically the two functions or two clauses we use to insert the data into the table. So timestamp include the time as well, and date time include the time as well, but the difference is that the UTC, universal time zone. Okay, next question, what is view in MySQL? Okay, the view is basically a virtual table which is used to view a certain and preferable rows or columns in the table. In practice, user can add a number of SQL functions, joins and where clause to view the present data in the table. First of all, let's understand this in a bit granular way. So we have a database, and in the database we have a different columns. Okay, and in the different columns, in different tables we have a different columns. But for each of the table I want to perform certain operations, certain complex queries, and the result set of that queries I required for every day, let's suppose, for simpler purpose. But is it feasible to run this query again and again for multiple users? No, because it slow down the MySQL database performance. For that, to store that query, that result set, we will use the views. So we'll basically store this large query into the view statement, and basically we'll just fetch that tables at the end, and we'll call those or select those views and view that result. So what is the difference between that physical table and this virtual table? So the difference is that memory. Okay, so it acquires the less memory than the physical table in the databases. So this is the view in MySQL. Let's move forward with the other questions we have. How do you create views in MySQL? So we seen the view in previous questions. So how to create the views? So there is command create view. So the create is a data definition language. So whatever objects you want to create in the database, you just need the create statement. Then the view clause, and inside after that you will just specify the name of view, and as keyword you have to specify, and after that you run the your complex query. For the demonstration purpose, I'll just write this a simple statement. Okay, and the simple statement means that you just retrieve this kind of columns like quantity, price, total price as values. These are alias of this total price from the product tables, and which is stored inside the view. So whenever I need to see some of the records related to the quantity, price and total price, I just need to call this view. So select this view again. Okay, let's move forward with the other questions we have. Which port is set as the default for MySQL server? Okay, so it's again administrative level things. So 3306 is the default port for MySQL server. 1433 is another standard default port used in TCP IP for SQL servers. So you need to just know the 3306 port, which is a default one, and for TCP IP you may also have a 1433 port. Clear? Next question. Which type of strings are used in database columns in MySQL? Okay, so first of all, strings are the set of characters enclosed in the double quote, single quote. Okay, in MySQL we can use the set, blob, varchar, text, enum and char type of strings. Okay, so these are the different data types we have, and depending on that we just use those strings into the MySQL. Okay, let's move forward with the other questions we have. What are heap tables? Okay, so heap tables are used for high speed temporary storage. Okay, but the text and blob fields are not allowed within them. They do not support auto increment. So heap tables are nothing but the temporary tables which is stored inside the heap memory. We have already seen this type of questions in the in these sessions only. Okay, and which does not allow the text and blob type. Blob is binary large object, and except that data type you can store any kind of a data. Okay, and it does not support auto increment also. So auto increment is a functionality where you can just add the increment value to the your primary key column or any column which uses the integer related data. Clear? So these are called the heap tables in MySQL, which is used for high speed temporary storage. Clear, guys? Next question we have. How can the user take an incremental backup in MySQL? Okay, so Extresa backup is used to take the incremental backup in MySQL. So Percona, Extresa backup. So these are the terminology we will use, or these are the feature we will use to take up the incremental backup. What is incremental backup here? Let's suppose we have a table, okay, which contains 100 rows down, but after the business will grow, and after a certain period of time the records or the number of customers are increases, and with the increase in the businesses we get the extra records. So before we have 100 records, let's suppose 100 new customers are there, so we doesn't need to again add the backup of previous 100 also. So we need just 100 which is newly added. So this is called as incremental backup. Okay, next question we have for the session. Explain the difference between reg expressions and like operators in MySQL. Okay, basically it's related to pattern matching in MySQL. So what is pattern matching? Whenever I want to filter the records based on some pattern, I'll go with the patterns or patterns related thing in MySQL. Okay, for that we have a regular expression, regex, and then like operators. Clear? So the identical difference between the regex and likes operators can be described as mentioned. Like is denoted using the cap sign. Okay, select, there is one there is so basically it's not like, basically it's a reg. So reg is denoted by cap symbol, and here we can write the query select star from user, basically the table name where some filter condition, username, reg expressions, and then name. Basically this query is nothing but I want a record where the username start with the something like name here. So you can take ABC or Travis, or you can say some of the name for the customers. So whatever the names comes under the reg expressions, you can basically give here and just execute that query, you can get that query. But the thing is that with respect to the like operator, we can use the only two wildcard characters, percentage and underscore. It's a basic level of pattern matching, you can say. So percentage means any number of characters, or for technically you can say that 0, 1 or any number of characters. Clear? So like operators is used for the basic pattern matchings, and reg expression used for the advanced type of pattern matching. So that's the basic difference between the reg and like operator. Next question we have, how can the user change the root password if it is lost? Okay, it's a very common problem we seen in the MySQL, where if you don't know your root password, then you have to set it. So when the password of the user is lost, the user should start the database with the skip grants table, okay, and then change the password. After that, the user should restart the DB with the new password in a normal mode. So it's like a command here, skip grant table, and then you can able to retrieve your root password. So next question we have for the session, difference between float and double. Okay, so these are the data types in the MySQL, and which have a following different. Floating point numbers are stored in the float with the 8 place accuracy, and it has a 4 byte of memory. Floating point number are stored in the double with the accuracy of 18 places, it has a 8 byte of memory. Okay, so these are the basically the difference between the floating point and double. So it is a more it can store more bytes of a data, it can store less bytes of a data. Next question we have for the session, how to get current MySQL version. So if you know what are the current MySQL version you have, either you can go with the workbench, and in the help section you can find the current version in the about section, or you can use the select statement also. In the select, you can use the select version and parenthesis open close, you will get the current version. So right now I guess we are in the version set of MySQL. Okay, next question we have for the day, how do you control the max size of heap table? Okay, so the maximum size of heap table can be controlled by MySQL config variable called max heaps table size. So this is the configuration variable here, and with respect to that we can control the heap size of a table, which is a temporary table by the way. Okay, next, what do you mean by percentage and underscore in like statement? So basically these are the wildcard operator used for the pattern matching in the MySQL. Percentage means 1, 2 or any number of characters, underscore means single characters. Clear? Which is used for the pattern matching with respect to the like statement. Next, what is the difference between the blob and text? This is also the MySQL data type. Binary large object used for the image data. Text is a descriptive type of a data separated within the single quote or double quote. Okay, so which is basically zeros and ones in the blob, and in the text we have a string. So these are the differences between the blob and text. Okay, so another questions we have for the day, which have, what is the difference between the MySQL fetch array and MySQL fetch object? Okay, so following are the differences between MySQL fetch array and the MySQL fetch object. So MySQL fetch array returns rows as an associate array or a regular array from databases. Okay, and MySQL fetch object returns a result row as an object from a database. So this is the object from a database, this is the array of an object of the database. So this is the basic difference between the MySQL fetch array and MySQL fetch object. Next question, how can we run batch mode in MySQL? So batch mode is nothing but the different file size of in the MySQL. So following are the command like mysql dot out are the command which basically used to run the batch in MySQL. Next, where my ISM table will be stored and also give their formats of storage. Okay, so MySM is basically the engine in MySQL and which is stored on the disk in the three format: dot frm, okay, stores the table in the definition, then data file has stored in dot myd, my data extension, and index file stored in my dot myi, okay, my index extensions. So these are the different types of storages we have for the definition, for the extension, and for the indexes. Clear? So MySM is the engine in the MySQL. Next, how MySQL optimizes distinct. Okay, so distinct means different values, unique values in the column. Okay, so to optimize the distinct, it is converted to a group by on the small column and it will be combined with the order by clause. Okay, so this is the statement you have. So basically distinct, then t1 dot a, which is basically table reference and the column reference, then the t1 and t2, which is the two tables we have, and where t1 dot a and t2 dot a is a condition. So t1 is my table name, then column name, table name, and column name. This is a condition to fulfill where we want to optimize the distinct clause in the MySQL. Clear? Next question we have for the day: how to enter the characters in the hex number. So this is a hexadecimal spaces. Hexadecimal follows the 16 scales precision. So if you want to enter the characters in hex numbers, you want to enter the hex number with a single quotes and prefix with x, or just prefix hex with the 0x. So this convention also followed in the Python. So hex numbers are the strings which is automatically converted into the characters of string if the expression's context is a string only. So this is how you can just convert the hex numbers into the basically enter the hex number into the MySQL. Okay, next question we have: how to display top 50 rows. Okay, so for top 50 rows, if you are using the Microsoft offering, then there is a fetch command is there, but in the MySQL we can use the limit clause. Okay, so for that, if I just head back to my notepad again, and if I just want to fetch the top 50 record, top 10 record, anything like that, so top, okay, so top 50 records I want from the table. So I'll just write the query, select from, then again I'll give the table name here, and I'll just use the limit clause here. Limit, suppose 50, I want 50 records, then you can just go with the 50. Star means all the records. Similar way you can do this by using the top 10 records. You can just mention the top 10 here. Clear, guys? So these are the different way you can just write or fetch the top 50, top 10 records. Clear? We can just dynamically do this also. We can just pass in. For that we have to write the procedure, which is a advanced SQL concept. Okay, so for that way we can just fetch the top 15 records from the MySQL. Okay, next, how many columns can we use for creating the indexes? So maximum of 16 index column can be created for any standard table. So we can use the 16 columns to get indexed from the database. What is the difference between now and current date? Okay, so actually these questions we have seen in the previous sessions also. So now is basically taking the date time data, and current date is taking the date only. So this is the only difference between the now and current date. Next, what are the objects can be stored can be created, okay, using the create statement. So basically any object in the MySQL or MySQL systems can be created using the create statement. So can be created database, events, functions, indexes, procedures and tables, views, triggers and users can be created using the create statement. So it's a data definition language command. Next, how many triggers are allowed in the MySQL tables? Okay, So there are kind of a 6 triggers are allowed in the MySQL tables, and those are before insert, after insert, before update, after update, before delete, and after delete. So basically triggers are the set of SQL statement which is get automatically invoked where you want to insert, delete, or update the existing record in the database. So if you want trigger to be executed before the insert, then the before statement is there. If you want to use the trigger after the insertion, then you can use the after. So these are the 6 type of triggers are allowed in the MySQL. Next, what are the monostandard string type? Okay, so the monostandard is a non-standard string type, which is a tiny text, medium text, and long text, which is not basically used nowadays to store the string type of a data. But you should know what is a non-standard string data. Okay, so we have a last question for this session. Okay, explain the access control list. Okay, so it's basically a higher concept, which is an administrative level concept. So what is the access or ACL? Access control list is a list of permission that is associated with an object. Object means any table, database, something like that. This is the list. This list is the basic for MySQL server security model and helps us the troubleshooting problem like user not able to connect. Okay, so these are the access control settings we have. Then the MySQL keeps the access control cached in the memory. When the user tries to authenticate or run the command, MySQL checks the authentication information and permission against the access control list in a predetermined order. Okay, so any operation you want to perform with respect to the databases, you need the access, and which can be given by the access control list. Okay, so these are the questions we have for the MySQL sessions for the part 5. So we'll meet with the other interview questions. Till then, have a nice day.